Welcome to part 2 of building better, quicker onboarding forms for your Bubble app by using the form builder Tally. Here I am in the form that I built in part 1, and what we need to do now is if you click publish at the top, I did that just a moment ago, you can go through and now you get a greater range of settings, and one of those is integrations. And we just scroll down, and I mean, you don't have to send this back into your Bubble app or even just your Bubble app. You can send it into a Slack channel, you can use Zapier to send it anywhere. But we're going to use webhooks because that allows us to connect it in with our Bubble app. So here was a form that I was building, and I thought, oh, I should just build this with Tally. And so what I'm going to do is go into my backend workflows, and I'm going to add in a new workflow. And this is going to be an API workflow. And this is the point in my Bubble app that the data from my Tally form comes into. So I'm going to say Tally form data. Now it has to be public. It also has to be run without authentication because it's not a logged in user in my Bubble app that's submitting this data. Yes, they are logged in, but I'm going to send them over to Tally so they're actually on the Tally site when they submit the form. I'm also going to say ignore privacy rules when running this workflow because I need to be able to match the data from the form to my user. And then I'm going to put this into detect request data and say detect data. So this is effectively putting my form into a training mode. Now, a few things to point out here, or at least one, which is that when you use webhooks, they are specific to the version of the Bubble app that you're using. So this is my version test. This is not my version live. So what you'll need to do is either have a separate form, you could duplicate the form, and so that you've got a dev form and a live form, or you add in both webhooks. I mean, it's basically up to you, but just make sure you don't forget to start sending data to your live app when you come to it. So I've copied that onto my clipboard. I'm going back through here, and I'm now going to click connect. Okay, and then I think I can send a test event. There we go. Okay, and so now this has come through to my Bubble app, and here is all the data that comes back. So we get tons of data, including the different fields here. So if I go show raw data, you can see that we've got the text area, the linear scale, and the ranking. Now it does get a bit more complicated if you have some of those more complex form elements being used. I mean, if you just got text inputs, then yeah, you can easily extract what that is and what this is. I've actually found that when I built, say, a 10-step form, I just passed all of this JSON into an AI like OpenAI or Claude and asked it to simplify it down. So for example, instead of getting all of this data, is it Webflow, is it Bubble, is it Wix or WordPress, or the order, I simply just had it say rank, it would just return this piece of text with Webflow, Bubble, Wix, WordPress, etc. So I'm going to click save. Now I've forgotten one bit, and in part 1 I did say the advantage of using a third-party form builder like Tally is that if you want to make a change to it, it can often be easier than going back into, say, if you could have a single page called onboarding in your Bubble app, and you could have 20 different groups, and you're showing hiding different groups depending on what data the users input. That can just take a long time to readjust as your MVP develops in your mind. Now the disadvantage is that we have to update we basically have to redetect the data each time we add in a new field. And something that I've forgotten to add in is that in order to be able to match it back to our user, we need to add in a hidden field, and I'll call it email. So that just means that we can pass our user's email to our Tally form so that then that same email is part of the data that comes back. So if I click preview and then go back into settings, integrations, not edit the webhook, there we go, and then yeah, what's also quite nice is that when you start to actually put real data, or even just the test data like I've got here, you could just resend it. Now I'm getting a failure there. That's because I've not put it in detect data mode. There we go. Perfect, now it's been delivered. Okay, and so now you can see that part of the form data we get back, maybe because test data doesn't work with hidden fields. Let's just take a moment instead and go and run it for real. So here's our actual form. So we'll say test. But I have to put the data in here. So it will be a query string like email equals test at example.test. Okay, because when I link from my registration page or wherever I want to pass users to this form, that's how I would do it. Let's just check that's in the URL. Perfect. So now I can say test. There we go. Just rank. There we go. Submit. Cool. Let's go back to just going to go back to the form builder in Tally. Here we are. So now I should be able to start to see the submissions. So we've got our email field, we've got the data there, it's all available for us in Tally. But now if I go back to integrations, remember this is going through onto initialize. I only need that for when I'm initializing it, training the data. Remember, if I want to actually send it through to my bubble app, I need to remove initialize once I've got the workflow fully set up. So in bubble, we'll put it in detect data. And then we'll say, not that one, this one here. And we'll try resending that. Cool. Remember, it failed because the endpoint that I've given, the webhook endpoint that I've given Tally is initialized. So I would now that I know that's worked, I'm just going to check to see that I get email through. Yes, I get the email data through. I'm going to click save. So now I would change my webhook and remove it. There we go. Cool. Right. So how would you piece this together? So let's take our register page. Here's one I built earlier. Very simple. We'll register the user. Okay, and then I say navigate to an external website. And I paste in my Tally link. But I add in that email URL parameter. So I would say here, current user's email. Okay, so that's going to send them through to the form. And now I'd say the only thing I've got left to do is actually to save the data. So what we need to do is take everything that comes back here and divide it up, split it up, and save it in the right places in our bubble app. And I'm going to cover that in part 3.